Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. All right, everybody, welcome back to What Now, a podcast for the lost and found. This is your host, Amanda. I am super excited today for our special guest. Our friend Shreya is here. She is a former fragrance buyer for the Hut Group's e-commerce properties, such as Derm Store. She started her own functional candle brand, Kaftari, in November of 2023. And it uses neuroscience to help you calm your mind and start your day right. So please welcome Shreya.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for that introduction.
Yes, I keep practicing in my head of how well it's going to go, and then sometimes it just kind of wing it when it
No, you
comes
nailed
out. Like,
it.
I think you can't think too much on it, or else it won't feel natural. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. It's very cool to learn from somebody that's in a completely different industry from me and who's using aromatherapy to help other people in a new, nuanced kind of way. So this is super neat. For my listeners who may not know you, or for your brand, since it did just recently launch, could you give us a quick kind of background about who you are and your personal trajectory into this candle business?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I grew up obsessing over fragrance. It was one of those things where I would walk into a room and like just try and guess what scent everyone was wearing because I was that obsessed with it. And so it wasn't to anyone's surprise, like when I like my career path, like being a fragrance buyer, starting a fragrance company, like it was
Mhm.
kind of predicted and I knew that I was gonna do it. Everyone else, when I did start it, like all my family friends were like, yeah, that makes sense for Shreya. It's just been something that I've really loved to experience. I love the creative aspect of it and I love the way it makes you feel. And then really this whole neuroscience angle, which you briefly touched on, is how fragrance can help us feel. When I was a buyer at Derm Store, I actually went through some mental health issues in the 2021, 2022, anxiety and insomnia being the two most relevant ones. And it sucks. I mean, I think everyone goes through it, unfortunately. A lot of people do. But what I found was super helpful in helping those in helping me aid and abet those just two issues was the use of fragrance. And so partly because I love it, and then B, because there's just so much research and discovery being done in the field that, hasn't been done before. And so I wanted to kind of share this with more people, which is why I started the brand.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And if you're so interested in fragrance, why candles in particular? Is that kind of easier to break through, or do you always envisioned it being candles, or did you want to do an actual like fragrance? Because I typically, when you think of fragrance, I'm thinking like
Yeah.
perfume or like the
Yeah.
Chanel commercials and stuff
Yeah.
that play during the Super Bowl.
No, I think you're right. The reason I envisioned, and no, to answer your question, I didn't always envision candles. It was something that I thought would be a good entry point for a new brand to position themselves. Like if we're positioning ourselves as a neuroscent brand is the term
Mhm.
that's kind of been tossed around in the industry a little bit, but we trademarked it, so like we're kind of owning that space.
Nice.
To be a home fragrance, not like something that you wear. But we are working on expanding the assortment to personal. I don't envision it just being a candle company. I want it to be expanding into more products. And we are currently working on that. And so to answer the question, why candles? I think it just made more sense from a positioning standpoint because we could use the same scents that we use, personally, but put it in a candle, but kind of have people get into that ritual of lighting a candle, doing this, and then, having that part of their daily routine to help in their wellness journey.
Yeah. How did How did your family react when you decided you wanted to switch? Like, because starting a business all on your own has to be really daunting, especially, you probably did have a good job at your previous
Yeah.
position. What really encouraged you to finally make the switch? And were they supportive, or like, is your family really into their own businesses too? So you were already primed to be an entrepreneur? Like, how did your
Yeah.
upbringing kind of influence that? And what did they say when you wanted to branch out?
So my dad is a serial entrepreneur. He's in the tech space, but
Okay.
he is that is his, that's his life. So for the last 30 years, he's been in the space, never really worked for anyone. And so I think it was always in me because of him. And I kind of grew up seeing how he yeah, like how he built and scaled companies. And I wanted to do that. I actually did work with him for one of his previous companies, which was a startup. And I did. It was a cloud security company, so it had nothing to do with what I'm doing right now, but it
Mhm.
kind of gives you a idea of how a startup functions. And then the second part of the question, like how they react to it. I mean, I'm so lucky and so fortunate. So they were very supportive. It's obviously really, really tough to start something. And so if the people that are closest to you don't support it, it's just uphill times uphill, which
Yeah.
is impossible. So no, I think everyone was really supportive, and I'm really lucky to have that system.
No, that is really great. My parents have done similar things, both either in marketing or computer engineering space, and so they've worked for various places, but also started their own companies and trainings and things like that. And so the marketing firm I'm at now is actually a family business. So I'm learning so much by being a part of that, and it takes some gumption, man. I don't know if I could start an idea and actually pull it all the way out of my head and make it come to fruition like that. So it's very impressive. And was your degree or college background in business as well, or
Yes. So I did do a business undergrad, and then I was always really fascinated with like neuroscience and
Mhm.
psychology. So I did do a neuroscience minor. Um, but it was primarily just like a finance and marketing degree.
Gotcha. No, okay. Well, that's actually super helpful for everything that you're
Yeah.
trying to do now. At least I'm sure your team will work with various scientists to help you craft the particular candles. So I was curious if maybe we could talk about that. Like, what inspired the name Kaftari, and what are the fragrances that you're using in your candles, and do they serve a specific purpose?
Yeah, so the name is kind of made up. It's just stems from this word that's other, Attar, which in Hindi, which is my mother tongue,
Hmm.
means scent. So
Hmm.
it was like that. And then the another angle to the word is caftaric acid, which is acid that's found in plants. It's a very aromatic chemical. And
Hmm.
so from there, kind of just a jumble of letters to make Kaftari just sound a little more sophisticated than other and Kaftaric acid. Um, and that's how the name came to be. In terms of the different fragrances that we use, I mean, we use a high concentration of essential oils as compared to other brands on the market, but we do kind of fuse that in with lab made scents as well. They're all clean and paraben, phthalate, like sulfate free, but some of them are lab made just because we can't get that like to some sense just through nature. Yeah, we have two that are launched, and by the time that this podcast airs, the third one will also be launched. I think Scent of Nirvana, which is March 5th,
Very
is
exciting.
going to be that the date that we launch that. But yeah, our fragrance that we have kind of a brief that is catered to each mood, and then based on that we develop the fragrance. Um, and so each one is completely different, but they're all in the same guidelines in terms of the cleanliness and yeah, the anti-toxicity, etc. They're all vegan, cruelty free.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, it sounds like you've thought through every possible angle for that. Like, if you want it to be a clean experience, It's got to be vegan, cruelty free. Like, I'm sure even the production for the container, right? I'm probably not using the right word, but the container that you're using is beautiful for your candles too. Or those are also handmade, or
Yes. They were not handmade, but they're ceramic.
okay,
So they are like laser engraved. So we use like a
got it.
laser to, and that's handmade, because you can't really mass laser that
Hmm.
certain um that pattern. But yeah, it's a ceramic vessel, completely biodegradable. Um and we made it in a green warehouse. So, like, there's just certain things that you have to go through to be uh, compliant with a green warehouse certification. So I wanted to make it as sustainable as possible, even from a container. It's vessel container, the same thing. But everyone knows what you mean when you
Right.
say container. Um, so yeah,
Very neat, very neat. I like that, especially if it's reusable. I've seen some candles be sold as like you can send it back and they'll refill the container or things like that to try and make it reusable in some way. So I was curious because your design is beautiful, but and it looks like it could fit in any home or any high end spa or medical space. So it looks beautiful. So I
thank
liked
you.
it. And you said the etching on the bottom, that's to match like the brain waves, or like is it specific to each candle or?
Yes. So
Mhm,
that was something that we really wanted to highlight in the packaging, because the brand was so science focused, like the
mhm.
creative direction also needed to replicate that. And so yeah, each candle is designated to evoke a certain mood, as we said. And with moods, like, are the brain waves in our brain can vary. So for each one, we link it back to a specific brainwave. And so the pattern on the vessel and then the pattern on the box is that same brainwave that is most dominant when we're experiencing the mood, that the candle is intended to make
Intended
us.
to invoke. Okay.
Yeah.
So, since you were inspired by your own mental health struggles with either anxiety and insomnia, which of those candles would be the most helpful to somebody who might be experiencing things that you went through? Or if
Mhm.
you were to meet somebody or a customer that shared something similar, what would be your recommendation to them through the candles? Like how to use them or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say Sense of Nirvana, which is the one that is gonna come out on March 5th, is probably the one that most people can relate to. It's a stress-free, it's supposed to reduce, like, your stress response system, essentially, and it's supposed to slow it down. I think they're all can be used for similar purposes. A thing that I have realized, and the thing that's I think people might not know, is that everyone experiences scent differently. So what think is calming, you
Mhm.
might not. But the things that that we talk about on our website and our socials, like, that's just based on our research. And so that's based on, like, the oil that we use and how it reacts with people in our test group. So um I guess short answer is I would say Sense of Nirvana would be the one for anxiety and kind of like getting a little, like, a stress-free experience. Dolce Far Niente, which is our happiness candle, that's meant for daydreaming, practicing mindfulness. And then Elixir, which is the energizing one, is meant for, yeah, boost of energy and kind of a reawakening of the senses.
Gotcha. And does it does time of day play into that at all? I know sometimes like some people might wake up with anxiety or they might be fearful or a little worried or have some just, lots of thoughts on their mind. Does it matter not only by smell to help you reach the mood that you want to be in, does it matter time of day at all?
What are you asking, like, what time of the day you should light the candle?
Yeah, I didn't know if like
Yeah.
if one of them's like more of a daytime, a midday, and then like a
Yeah.
nighttime routine. Like if you were going to incorporate the candles into your routine, what would be the best way to
Mhm.
do that? Or does it not matter if it's all individualized
No, I
anyway?
think there is, like, we're really trying to get people to get into a routine with these candles. And so the first, I would say the morning one would be the energizing one that's called Elixir. So super bright, citrusy, fresh notes that
Mhm.
help you, it's like a gentle boost of caffeine, really. And then Dolce Far Niente, which is the pink one, which is rose based. We recommend that for a midday kind of lounge type situation. And then yeah, at the end of the day, Santa Nirvana, because it's very woody and musky and very um dark, because it has a very strong, like, wood-based, composition, and when you have a very wood-based composition, it just tends to be very overpowering and heavy. So we recommend to light that during in the evening.
Got it. Okay, very cool. I love that. And is all of your products right now, they're all on your website, or can you go to a specific store anywhere and pick them up as well?
We are in like resort spas, so
Okay.
there's a couple that are scattered across the country, but it's not, yeah, it's not a uh, store where they have multiple locations. And then, of course, yes, the website.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, very cool. So for anybody that's interested in checking out the candles, you should definitely go to the website, and we will add that to the show notes so people can find you and link to it. Well, let's talk a little bit about starting your own business. In your previous jobs, you probably worked for someone specifically as a buyer, and we're helping out various customers, probably face to face and direct like that. But now, if you're starting your own company, you may not do that as often. So I'm curious, what were some obstacles that you ran into when you first started the company or going out on your own, and how did you address those concerns?
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle for me was just not knowing what to do with your time. I mean, as a founder, like as you alluded to, there's just so many things that you can be doing. So, help prioritizing the tasks and making a schedule for yourself. I think is really challenging. That lack of stability, not necessarily like with paycheck, because I'm assuming like if you know are doing this, you've thought of like, okay, this is my 1 year of expenses that I can, afford to do, and I'm going to give myself the best shot of doing so. I think most people have that figured out when they do embark on this journey. But I think from what I've noticed and just like talking to other
Mhm.
similar founders, how do you know what to put your energy into? Because it's always an opportunity cost. Like you were working on something, so it's something else won't be able to do. Like you won't be able to do, and then I think it's also finding a balance. Like I know when I first started, it would be like 24/7, just like thinking about the business and, not really allowing myself to go out, see friends. I would feel guilty if I watched TV, and it was just not healthy and not
Right.
sustainable at all for anyone. But I think everyone needs to have that experience to be able to know that that's not something that they want to do. And I mean, if you want to live life like that, like that's everyone's different. It's just that I realized that I didn't want to. So it's just I think figuring out what you want to do with your time, but B, having some sort of balance, knowing that it's not really work-life balance because it is your work, which is your life, but
Yeah.
having having some sort of semblance of that is important, I think.
Absolutely. And that's so hard too, because this is probably like this is your baby now. Like this
Yeah.
is your thing. Like this is something that you've started from the ground up that's completely yours. And it makes sense that you would want to focus on it so much. You're probably traveling, I assume, between New York and wherever your manufacturing aspect is. If you're meeting with your scientists, that's different. And I believe you said you source the scents from France. Like, do you have to travel
Yeah.
internationally for this as well? That'd be
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been, yeah, I think that's another thing. The travel is a little insane, but thankfully with just like calling, I think you're able to get a lot of work done just virtually too.
Yeah, that's thank goodness
Mhm.
for telework and virtual
Yeah,
interviews too. Yeah, now that you've been going through this process for a bit, what is something that you've learned about yourself since starting the business? Have you
for
learned
sure.
anything new about you or seen yourself rise to a challenge of anything in particular or um,
Yeah, that's a good question. Um I think I have always had a good sense of who I am, but I think what I will say, and this is not necessarily alluded to the business because
Sure, yeah, it doesn't have
I
to be.
think in general, when you experience life and then you do this and everything is interconnected, right? When you're doing your own thing. But I think I realizes that there's a lot more power that you're capable of a lot more than you think you are. And I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but this kind of goes along uh with everything in life, not just the business. Like I think I ran a marathon in 2022
Oh,
and I
goodness.
never had run before. Like
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never I like was never a runner. I ran maybe 3 miles in school and like I was never part of track and field. I never did any sport like in college or high school. So me running the marathon was like super random, but I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it. So I think you're capable for so much more if you just put your mind to it. And then I think the second thing is um everything everything that you experience is based on your outlook and your perspective. So um if you think that, oh, I'm like I think just having an abundance mindset, like having the mindset that everything is abundant rather than a
Mhm.
scarcity mindset is it it translates in your actual life. So it's kind of that karmic understanding of yourself. I'm not super into it, but I think I do believe in it. Um, the law of attraction, etc. So
No, and I feel like that would be, really helpful for your candle that's coming out too for the meditation aspect or, like, the manifestation. I don't know if you're gonna make a candle that'll help with manifesting, but if you did, I'm definitely gonna buy it because I never used to be, like, a vision board girly or, like,
yeah,
I would write things down in, like, a journal, and eventually you would see that come to fruition, surprisingly, when you're doing that over and over, like, your brain believes whatever or your body believes whatever your brain tells it, right? And you gotta be so careful about what you say to yourself and what you project because it will come to fruition in some kind of way, I think. So I love that. I'm glad that you've had both
yeah.
of those things. What would you say has been maybe something that you didn't know or interesting in terms of is I know you're technically in what like the aromatherapy industry, but you're not
Mhm.
only doing essential oils and you're not doing straight up fragrance like traditional perfumes. Like, is what's special about doing candles or what's unique in this particular niche here compared to what you used to do?
Compared to like when I used to buy for candles.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
I just didn't know if maybe like, you know, it can feel maybe sometimes like you're not competing with people you used to work with before, but you are trying to make yourself stand out in a new way. Like you're no longer the buyer, like you're on the other side. You're trying to pitch yourself. So I just didn't know
exactly.
if maybe you have a completely different perspective now, or maybe you have the leg up, right? Because you used to sit on the other side of the table. I just didn't know if you had a new insight into that, or if you feel like you're, digging yourself a trench. I don't know, but
Yeah, I think, I mean, to answer the first part of the question, I think you were asking about like the industry being not really aromatherapy and not really personal fragrance, but something in the middle of it.
right.
I would agree with that. I think we're trying to, and again, this was gonna come with the expansion of the assortment too, but really I th we're selling candles at the end of the day, but all of our, messaging on social media and our newsletter and just who we are as a brand, I think just has a lot to do with, I mean, it is a wellness company, so I think we're really just trying to educate the consumer about the science of scent and make it super digestible for them.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, like scent is probably like the most important, like one of our five senses. 75% of all the emotions that we feel like as a human being come from scent, which people don't realize it because it's subconscious and it's
Sure, yeah.
something that is really not talked about, and so that is the goal for this company. And so I would kind of position us in, yeah, it's like fragrance, aromatherapy, and then kind of like there's like a wellness quadrant in that
Mhm.
diagram.
That Venn diagram,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and then for the other question about, like, having a leg up and, like, insight, yeah, I think it always helps, that is the kind of not fortunate, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but that's just the nature of the business when there's just so many brands and so
Mhm,
little retailers. Of course, there's going to be a power dynamic between brands always trying to pitch the retailers and, you know, vice versa. If it's a really popular brand, then the retailers want to get that one. So I think what I realized as a buyer is, like, I don't want to rush into retail expansion. I think once the brand grows organically, and gets a very supportive, customer base and loyal
mhm.
customer base, the retailers will come knocking on your door regardless. You don't have to pitch to anyone; they will come to you. And I've seen that happen, and I've seen, like,
Sure.
the brands that pitched to us when I was a buyer, and, like, we would just pass on them, and then versus, like, we would be trying to chase and chase and chase, like, these, like, certain brands, but they wouldn't, like, say yes to us. Like, you wanna be on the other hand. Um, and more distribution doesn't necessarily lead to more sales because people still have to, like, buy your product. At the end of the day, like, even if it's, like, sitting on that shelf and, like, why would they buy it? Is because they recognize you from something else, and that's, like, your communication with the customer, not through the retailer. So, um, I like, yeah, you asked, like, "Oh, are we, like, in other areas?" I like, right now, we just don't want to be. I think we're just so early.
Mhm.
We still wanna cultivate that community. We still wanna have that, relationship with just the customer. Because when you add a middleman to it, you don't control that communication, um, completely, right?
You're completely right that brand recognition right now is gonna be huge and, like, your biggest way to infiltrate new people. Because what if you also wanna sell to people that, 1, love candles, but then 2, people that may not have considered buying a candle for that particular purpose too. So, like, learning and being educated about how the neuroscience can play into that is, I think, super cool. And you could tap into a different revenue stream of individual buyers, right? The people
Mhm,
that love that and people who have never heard of that before. So I think it's really smart to take it slow. So
mhm.
where would you like to expand next? I know you're not going faster, like you're not going to speed
Yeah.
up your timetable, but you said, you've got your website and a few of the resort spas. Do you have a dream place where you would be able to sell your candle? Or like a
Like a retailer?
yeah, maybe, or like, I don't know, maybe if your dream's like, I'm gonna go to Target and like I'm gonna be in the Target aisle, or
No,
like
I
I
think,
don't know. I'm throwing one out there, but like,
yeah, yeah.
do you have a particular dream or like for
I
that?
think in the next 3, 4 years, I definitely see we're a New York-based brand. I'm in New York, and there's just
Mhm.
so many new,
So many options, yeah.
like, New York-based boutique stores, and so once
Mhm.
we expand the assortment, like, I do envision that kind of being a flagship store, where people can experience the scent, because scent is so experiential, and
Sure.
selling it online, whether it's through a retailer or your own e-commerce
Mm,
platform, is very hard. And so I think having, a standalone store, in New York, probably, like, yeah, like the Nolita area, in the Soho area, would be the dream.
the dream. Yeah, would that be your "Hey mom, I made it" moment? Get
Yeah,
your own
I saw
storefront.
I saw that on your question list.
Yeah.
Um, I I think so, and I think there's always gonna be something next,
Of course,
okay, I
yeah.
have to open the store, then need one in LA, need one in SF. So I don't think I want to, say that, because there's always gonna be another thing that you can achieve.
Mhm.
So, "Hey mom, I made it," I think that's just, there's gonna be hundreds of variations of that, and,
Love that, yeah. No, of course, yeah, and
yeah.
blessings upon blessings for everything that you're trying to do. I think that's
Thank you
super
so much.
exciting. Oh my goodness. So how are you using you said you are expanding your collection and not just strictly doing candles for
Mhm.
forever, like you may roll into a different type of product as well under the Kaftari brand. So how are you using the neuroscience research to inform your future products? Like, or what is it that you are trying to craft next after you do the candles? Is there something else specific you'd like to incorporate, and what's your plan for that?
Yeah, so working on personal scent. So two products, a specifically just a roll-on,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
like, that you can experience and travel with, and then, um, down the line, kind of, EDPs, which is, like, eau de parfums, and for your question about, like, how do you incorporate the neuroscience, like, research, it's all in the blend. So the blend that we use for Scent of Nirvana, for example, if we make a roll-on of that,
Mhm.
it's the same scent that we use. So the like, the research and the formula is already there. It's just the method of the vehicle is going to be different. Um, and
Gotcha.
of course, with, with the candle, you add the wax and you have to add the wick, you have to obviously add other things for the candle to burn. With the roll on, it would just be the oil. If we do a perfume, you have to add alcohol as a vehicle to, emit the scent, because just spraying that oil on your body won't do anything. So, it's all kind of done. It's in the DNA of the brand,
Mhm.
and it will translate to different products.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's great. So then you can almost, like, buy, like, a pair if you could get the candle and a roll-on
Yeah,
with it, and you can get a
exactly.
matching
A
set, and
bundle.
I can imagine, like, for by Christmas time next year or something, those would be great gifts or holiday treats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know for our company, they do a like a company Christmas gift to all the employees each year, and sometimes it, it kind of varies in what they do, but I could see those being really amazing products to offer as well. So if somebody could only buy one candle from you right now, which candle would it be and why?
Yeah, definitely Sense of Nirvana, which is the one that
Mhm.
was we didn't launch with it.
Not yet?
Um,
Yeah.
I would say why, because, we did do it strategically in the sense we wanted people to experience the first 2 and then wait until the 3rd so that they have a, just general, understanding of the product before another one is released, and then, I just think it's the most universal in terms of scent that like what people like and what people don't like. It's
Mhm.
as I mentioned before, very woody and kind of sensual, scent, and I think both men and women gravitate towards it. The other 2 are also completely unisex. We don't market just to women, but it's both. But,
Cool.
rose just is more feminine. The bergamot and lemon is just by nature more feminine, but I think men and women both really, really enjoy, oud and patchouli and cedarwood. It's so that's those are, like, the top, like, notes in that scent. Um and because there's just been a lot of anticipation around it because we, kind of started promoting it well in advance,
Mhm.
I would say that that is, the one that everyone should go buy.
Should go try it. Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm very excited. You said that comes out in March?
Yeah, on the 5th of March, which I
March
think
5th.
by the time you may release it, it might already be out, which is great timing.
Yeah, no, they gotta go and get it, that's for sure. Alright, what advice would you give somebody if they were feeling lost and stuck in a moment, where they were having either like you did with either the mental health concerns or they were dreaming of starting their own business but weren't really sure how to get started or when to go or, whether or not they believed in themselves, whichever. If they're having a moment of feeling lost in their current situation, and they don't know where to go or where to start, what advice would you give those people?
I think being lost is a very human emotion and everyone should feel it, and just because you're feeling it doesn't mean that it's a bad feeling.
Mhm.
Recognizing that you're feeling it and allowing yourself to feel it, but then also kind of taking a more magnified, or I guess the opposite of magnification, like a
Mhm.
very broad view of the situation, and remind yourself that um, that it's just kind of a day or a month or whatever, however long the feeling is. It's not going to last forever, is helpful. But I think, there's a lot of advice on the internet and just like people saying that this is what you should do to feel unlost. But on the contrary, I think you should feel lost. I think it's a complicated feeling and it's not a bad feeling. It's just a feeling. Um, and along, like, not feeling bad about yourself that you're feeling it, and recognizing that it's a human emotion and that quite literally everyone on this planet goes through it. So it's that solidarity aspect too, just because everyone goes through it. You're not alone. And then the second part is, I think, taking a broader view and recognizing that I'm a huge believer in that everything happens for a reason and that you're kind of on the right path regardless of um, you know wherever you go. And so every single thing that you do is, in a sense, part of the journey. And the lost part of your journey is going to bear some fruit. Whether you see it right now or not, you will see it in the future. And so, like enjoying that feeling, soaking it up, and then just, telling yourself that it's just a feeling and it's going to ebb and flow.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that actually, because I've interviewed some guests and they've come up with their particular answers or response back to that, and I think you might actually be the first one that said, "If you feel lost, good. Like it's part of it, and it's actually going to serve a purpose." And I think that's so important. I have a hard time reminding myself that when I feel that way, like when leaving my previous job and changing my life and making all these big decisions, it felt all consuming and I didn't really know where to go from there. And I appreciate the fact that you would say that actually you should just embrace that part because for whatever reason, this really rough moment is serving a purpose for later. You can't see why or for what yet because you haven't
Yeah.
gotten there, but the fact that it will be useful at some point is a good perspective to have. And I really appreciate you saying that actually, because that's not something that I had truly thought about it. I'm mostly sitting here thinking, man, this sucks. Like, so
Yeah,
no.
I mean, I think it's just it's part of life. And um it, a lot of it just is the perspective that you bring to it. So you can be
Mhm,
feeling that, and one person can be feeling the exact same thing that you're feeling, but your appreciation of that feeling will differ based on your perspective of the situation. So just reframing it and like claiming the narrative. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying previously, like what I've realized in life and what
mhm,
what a life has taught me is like you're capable of so much more. So you are capable of changing the narrative. You are
mhm.
capable of feeling comfortable with the feeling if you try and feel comfortable with the feeling.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's about like just like taking control of your emotions, because I think people are way more powerful than we think we are.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what would you tell me, or what do you believe is your greatest achievement so far? And it doesn't have to be with the business. It could be
Yeah.
something personal as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of my greatest achievement. I would say, I think, not to like beat the dead horse, but I think
No.
going in this conversation, having the perspective shift would be my greatest achievement, because
Mhm.
I can have so many achievements, like, my business can make like $1 billion in revenue like the
Sure.
next day, but I wouldn't feel truly happy because of something if I wasn't internally happy. And so I think a lot of this past year, along with the business, has just been about um recognizing what I want in life and like being able to experience life as it comes, and nothing more and nothing less. And just kind of being an empty vessel for knowledge and just for experiences, so you can like soak everything up. And I think having the perspective shift of, A, everything happens for a reason, so like don't sweat it, and then B, like not holding on to anything in the past, like
Mhm.
grudges with people or things, has probably been my greatest achievement, because I think a to me success is, someone said this quote a while ago, and I don't remember who said it, but success is a calm nervous system. So if I
Mm.
wake up in the morning, I am calm and I'm able to, experience life for what it is, and just do what I need to do, but also just be conscious about my being, then I think that's a successful day, and then henceforth a successful life, because there's always going to be the next milestone, the next milestone, the next milestone that you will be able to do. And then that kind of dilutes the success. And especially for me, like, if I'm attaching my entire worth to like my company, then it's just so um such an uphill battle. Like, you're gonna have so many I'm gonna have so
Right.
many more failures before
Well, it's
wins.
gonna ebb and flow so much, right, in the
Yeah,
very
like
beginning, and you're gonna be high and then low and then high and then
yeah,
low, like, it's gonna take a while to steady out, so I think you're right,
exactly.
yeah, you can't tie your
I
worth
can't tie
to
it.
that.
But then, like, what is the success would probably be something along the mindset, because the other, like, artificial, like, not artificial, I would say status signals are dangerous to
Mm,
tie yourself to, um, because that is when things, start to get you don't want your worth to be determined by, like, a number, so
yeah. No, I like that too, especially the perspective shift there, that you're, self-aware enough to notice that you had to do that to get to where you are today. Because
yeah,
imagine, the 2 or 3 years ago when you were struggling, you could have chosen a different path. You could have chosen not to start the business. You could have chosen to stay, um, you know, stuck or with, a victim to that anxiety, and you weren't, right? You found a way to address it and acknowledge it head on, I think with humility and everything. And you found a way to, turn it into a positive. Like, how can I help myself through this process, but also help others who might, be struggling with the same thing? And I think that is huge, really huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. So, what are your current goals or your next goals? Do you have a particular goal that you set for 2024?
Yeah, I think definitely, just keep on growing the brand. And when I say grow, I don't mean like numbers. I think having a loyal customer base is something that I'm really excited and looking forward to. And then personal scent is something that I've always been, passionate. Like when I say, oh, I love scent, it really has to do with
Hmm.
personal scent. And I know I started with candles because I think I love that too, but
Yeah.
having a scent that you can wear and kind of is yours, is something that I'm really excited to be working on and excited to have, share with the world soon. Um, hopefully later this year, but we'll see
Yeah.
how things play out. But yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I kind of want to go and buy all three now, so that way I can like smell like whichever thing I need to feel in that moment. Be like, I'm gonna put this on. Shreya said it would help.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's great. And building step by step milestones there for yourself. And like I think uh, also to quote like somebody else probably from the because the internet tells us
Yeah.
everything, that like the best way to build your own self-confidence is to keep promises to yourself and like see yourself like achieve
Yeah.
this thing and then this thing and then this thing. Like they don't have to be so out of reach. They can
Yeah.
be tinier, building blocks of achievements rather than something extreme. So I love that. I'm super excited to see what else you can come up with. So for our final question for the day, if you could give yourself advice 10 years ago, what would it be?
Um, I was still in school 10 years ago, so I would
Mhm.
say I would tell myself to pay more attention in class. You don't really like at least when I was going to school, like even
Mhm.
college, you pay for college and
Right.
it's something that is really expensive, but um I just kind of did it to do it and not really try and learn stuff. But if I were to go back and tell myself to do it, if I were to do it again, I would take an interest in the class, not just to pass the tests and like get my grades, but also to just to learn. Post college, I don't know, I found like this new passion for learning and not just with
Mhm.
like fragrance and science, like whatever, but just like everything. Um, and so, when you're in school, you have so much like privilege because you're able to learn so much, and that's literally your only job, like to learn. You don't have to make a living; you just have to learn. So I would just learn more and learn because I wanted to learn, not because I wanted to pass the test. And then also I would tell myself to on that same line of thought, read more because I didn't really start reading until recently, and I feel like
Yeah.
I've been robbed from so many years because I never made it a priority in my life.
No, do you have a favorite book right now or anything that you're reading recently?
Um, there's so many favorite books. I guess I can tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading this book called Outlive. I
Okay.
think it's called Outlive by Peter. Yeah, so Outlive by Peter Attia. It's about I mean, as the name implies,
Mhm.
living long and living well. So not necessarily lifespan, but health span. Like, how can you not just like not by age, but by your quality of life. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like it so far. I can't say it was my favorite because I've just started like a
Yeah.
couple days ago, but yeah,
No, that's cool. I agree with you. I think when I was in college and like going to grad school and everything, I was reading so much for the purpose of passing
yeah,
class, not to enjoy it because worked full time for some of my stuff, and I don't think I started reading for fun until a couple of years ago. And
yeah.
when I moved back to Nashville, I joined a book club, and we have been reading most of
I
the books.
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
so I'm right there with you. I really should read more. I should
yeah,
tell myself that too. It would help, and just
yeah,
in general, and get your mind off of things and show you new perspectives and stuff too. So I love
yeah,
that. Well, Shreya, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you. I am so excited to see how your business grows and you continue to expand and just improve people's lives through aromatherapy and neuroscience. Like it's going to be great.
thank you so
Using
much. It was
using
so
science to
nice.
help people in the beauty industry and the wellness space, and I think that's really important and crucial, right? Like you said, scent is one of the strongest senses that we have, and it evokes memory and can change your mood on a dime. And I'm hoping that your candles can help people, feel better in the best way possible and live their best and fulfilled life. So I think
Thank
it's going to
you.
be very cool for you. Please tell everybody how they can find you or the best way to support you and your business ventures or buy the
Yeah.
candles.
So the Instagram handle is just Kaftari, Caftari. Same handle for TikTok. The website is just kaftari.com. My personal Instagram, I'm always like looking forward to making new friends, is Shreya, ShreyaWal, Shreya Wall. And then yeah, my email address is just Shreya at Kaftari. So yeah, it was so nice chatting with you and so nice meeting you. I'm so happy that we got to do this.
I'd love to follow up with you in a year and see where you are. And anytime you roll
Definitely,
out a new product, it'd be great to catch up with you and showcase that as well.
for
And
sure.
I hope you get to reach that goal this year. That's very exciting.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
all right. Well, that's it for now, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at What Now, a podcast for the lost and found. And we'll catch you next week. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.